Welcome back to the Versus Gravity podcast. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about how calisthenics is the single best tool that you can use to live a long, happy, and fruitful life. Over to you, more serious. And I mean, just look at those biceps.
They don't exist, mate. They're AI. Everything's AI. We don't exist.
Yeah, we're not even real anymore. We're just ChatGPT. It'd be like couple of studs talking about calisthenics and we come up.
Talk about yourself, mate. I'm not a stud.
A stud's a good thing.
Yeah, I know. Right. Okay, calisthenics and longevity. I guess from the perspective of, why it's so good, there's so many different reasons for this, right? So, I mean, why don't we just unpack this, starting with probably the most important.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, you're not going to find something that is less stressful on the body, but also produces such a high output, right? So let me kind of shape this for you. If we were to take a different style of training, for example, weightlifting or powerlifting, the amount of load that you put your body under in order for it to grow and get stronger is significantly larger than, for example, lifting your own body weight, right?
Yeah.
Now, you might ask, well, I want to be super strong. Yeah, maybe you do, but super strong doesn't necessarily equate to a long-lasting life, right?
There's a balance.
There's a balance.
You can go too far.
Exactly. Now, there's a reason why people like Ronnie Coleman, right? He's on crutches now, right? But if you go, like you were going to say later on, to China, you see all these guys who are sort of in their 80s, 90s, whatever, spinning around bars, doing front levers. There's a reason why they can do what they do and Ronnie Coleman is in crutches.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be real. So if you wanted to genuinely focus on long-term health, strength is absolutely a must, but there is a limit, right? You don't want to be chasing something incredibly crazy. You don't want to be half for Bjornsson or Eddie Hall, deadlifting 500 kilos, because that stuff's cool. It will go down in history, but you're not going to necessarily have a long-lasting life.
So what I'll say is I'll play the devil's advocate, right? I'll be the person that's like, oh yeah, but how the hell am I supposed to get strong only doing bodyweight squats? What would you say to someone like that?
I mean, there's always variations, right? So the beautiful thing about calisthenics is it is just resistance training, right? If you think of it less as, oh, this is like me just using my body weight, and instead think of it as resistance training, apply the same principles that you do with weightlifting, you're going to find that you're going to arrive at a solution where you can make it harder.
Yeah.
And ultimately, this is the kind of mindset that I see a lot of people have, right? They kind of take the default position of looking for problems, right? So, calisthenics only allows me to train with my body weight. What do I do? How do I make it harder? That's a problem mindset, right? If you keep looking for problems, what do you get? You get more problems.
Of course.
If you have a solution-orientated mindset, I only have my body weight to work with. How can I make it better?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, your mindset will shift and you'll start actually looking for ways to make it harder. For example, instead of doing a bodyweight squat, do a single leg squat, right? A split squat. Instead of doing split squats when they get too easy, learn the pistol squat. When the pistol squat gets too easy, learn the shrimp squat. When that gets too easy, learn the sissy squat. Like, there's so many variations.
And it's not even, sorry to interrupt, it's not even just variations, it's tempo as well. There's so many different ways from which you can increase the difficulty of an exercise without changing the exercise or even adding weight. Tempo, pauses, adding instability. Like Bulgarian split squats are too easy. Elevate the front foot. That's too easy. 5 seconds on the way down. That's too easy. 5 seconds on the way down with a 2-second pause at the bottom and a fucking big old push at the top. Guarantee most people here cannot do single Bulgarian split squats, back foot elevated, front foot elevated, 5 seconds on the way down, 2-second pause with a huge concentric on the way up. Body weight for 12 reps. I reckon most people here cannot do it, and I reckon most people at the gym would find that really challenging. Yeah,
I mean, I remember when I had a bit of a knee injury, a bit of on the quad tendon, a bit of tendinopathy, and my coach at the time, he was getting me to do isometric holds in the bottom of a Bulgarian split squat with no weight, 20 seconds. Do you know how hard that shit is?
Crazy.
Like, seriously, like, you're like here, right? And you're just holding this position
for
here
20 seconds.
For 20 seconds. Like, my quads are burning already, right? Then you're having to stop that. That is so hard. And also, that exercise on its own is incredible for the longevity of your tendons, your joints, because what you're doing is you're not just training them from one angle, which is the concentric eccentric. You're also training the isometric as well. Great for your tendons, right? And we'll get onto that in a minute. But there's so many ways of making these exercises harder.
Yeah.
Right? For the upper body, once you're really good at pull-ups, learn a one-arm pull-up.
Yeah.
Right? How many people can do a one-arm pull-up?
Barely any. I mean, I still can't do one. I've been in calisthenics for like 4 or 5 years.
So, yeah, it's absolute cope.
Yeah.
You know, people saying, "Oh, bodyweight squat's too easy."
And I tend to find with bodyweight, you're actually forced to be a bit more creative. Because I'll be honest, that if all you had to do was just bodyweight squats, I'd say a normal squat is probably better. However, right, this is something that's worth noting. If pull-ups obviously bodyweight exercises, push-ups, dips, weighted pull-ups, it's just weighted calisthenics. A squat is a calisthenics exercise. So surely a barbell squat is just weighted calisthenics. So actually it is.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, if you think about it, most exercises still boil down to some form of bodyweight-based movement, unless if there's isolation involved. But my point is that with calisthenics, you're forced to be a bit more creative. One point that I really want to touch upon is the whole isometric element, which obviously isn't exclusive to calisthenics, but tends to be something that you see isometric kind of movements or holds very much so married within the calisthenics and bodyweight world, and less so in the powerlifting or bodybuilding world. Let's touch upon kind of why isometrics are good. Why do we think they're more prevalent in the calisthenics world? And why really you should be doing isometrics, actually, if you want to build a kind of really, really resilient body.
So there's a couple of reasons for this. First one is neural drive, right?
What is neural drive?
So the way I like to think of neural drive is your ability to recruit the system that you've got, right? So if I have, for example, the ability to only recruit, let's say, 30% of my muscle fibers, whereas you have 50%, right? The ability to recruit 50%. Obviously, you've got higher neural drive, right? You can create much larger force with the same number of muscle fibers because you can recruit more of them, right? So that's how I think about it. The beautiful thing about isometric holds is that you are learning how to recruit more of the existing musculature, right? You don't necessarily get the same effect of hypertrophy as you do from doing concentric and eccentric training. However, what you do get is you're learning how to tense everything really, really hard and hold a very specific position, right? That is a very unique way of training. I think Bruce Lee even used to do it.
Literally, I was going to mention Bruce Lee.
And it is absolutely insane for building strength. And I'll give you a very real anecdote, right? So for the last year and a half, all I've trained pretty much is front lever, right? I've gotten good at it now to a point where I'm like, okay, cool, I want to learn a front lever pull-up. So my coach has started to put weighted pull-ups back into my program. Guess what's happened? I went from being able to do 40 kg for 6 reps to now 50 kg for 6 reps.
It's crazy.
Without doing a single weighted pull-up for a whole year. I've barely done any pull-ups, right? All I've done is this. I've just held that position. And that's the beautiful thing, is because now what I've been able to do is, rather than focusing just on hypertrophy, just on concentric and eccentric strength, I've been able to recruit more of my lats, more of my upper back, more of my forearms, because I've learned how to hold that position, a position that is far, far harder than a weighted pull-up, right? So that's the beautiful thing. That's the first thing, is neural drive. You get so much neural drive progress from doing isometric training. The second one is tendon strength.
Massively.
So
especially in straight arm elements, which is another topic to touch upon within calisthenics, which actually you don't get in pretty much any other strength sport. Straight arm. Yeah,
exactly. And you know, when it comes to the longevity of your body, your tendons very much are important, or as important as your muscles, right? We always talk about atrophy of muscles after the age of 40 or whatever, but no one ever talks about the tensile strength of your tendons, right? How can they actually resist force, right? Because most people, when they get an injury, if they snap a bicep or something, guess where it happens? On the tendon, right? So tendon is what attaches the muscle to the bone. If you've got weak tendons, well, guess what? The chances of you having a really bad injury are much higher. And we see that a lot with bodybuilders, you see it a lot with other lifters, but you rarely see that unless you're doing something crazy like a planche with calisthenics practitioners, right? So rarely do you ever see someone tear a bicep doing a pull-up.
Very, very rare. I mean, unless if it's a crazy weighted pull-up, but by that point, you're just somewhat being irresponsible, or you just weren't ready for that weight.
Exactly. So that is a huge part of longevity, right? How do I build a system, not just the muscles, but the entire system that is able to withstand pressure and force.
Yeah, I want to touch upon quickly on the isometric element. So I think a really understated element of isometrics is it really helps with mind-muscle connection. Mind-muscle connection is huge. So you can take us two as anecdotes. Ihsan is someone that never really struggled with mind-muscle connection, potentially just because you grew up playing more sports than I did. So stuff came a lot more naturally to him, whereas for me, I always struggled with it. And I only found that I was actually able to build that mind-muscle connection. Simple movements, literally sometimes just scapular protraction or pull-ups, when I would throw in an isometric element. And because when you're in that isometric element, for example, holding the top of a pull-up position, my natural tendency is to shrug a lot. So if I'm repping them out, I'm not really focusing and I don't really have the mind muscle awareness to be able to retract my scapula. But if I'm pulling up and my sole aim is to hold that top position for 5 seconds, here I'm acutely aware and I'm really developing consciously what are my scapula doing when I'm in this position? Because there's nothing else for me to think about. I'm not having to think about my bum or my wrist or my biceps. It's just my scapula. So I can really think about, retract, hold it. Sometimes I'll even close my eyes because it helps me get more in tune with my body. And building that mind-muscle connection is also an element that's going to help you later on in life so that when you try to pick up new activities, you want to go, I don't know, rock climbing with your friends, or you want to go on a long hike. And say, for example, you've been doing isometric holds for Bulgarian split squats, and you're doing this hike, and this hike is a bit technical, and you're having to put one foot up and then kind of, I don't know, orchestrate yourself up onto the left leg. If you've built that mind muscle connection on that right hand side and the left hand side, you'll be 10 times more confident with balance. You'll be 10 times more confident in your own abilities as well. And that's another important thing to touch upon as you age later on in life, right? Is the confidence in your own body that you can do certain things. I would say that a lot of people end up getting injured or end up falling because they're not truly confident in themselves. It's almost like they end up hurting themselves on purpose subconsciously because they tell themselves, like, I'm shit at sports. I can't do this. I can't do that.
Well, there's actual science behind that. It's called self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes when you are nervous or anxious about something, it's easier for your brain to cope with the pain of failure than it is to make the leap and actually perform the thing that you want to perform,
100%.
right? It's usually 9 times out of 10 when people make big decisions, right, in life, whether it's, to marry that person or, do that thing, whatever it is, right, start that business, 9 times out of 10 people will self-sabotage. And it's because staying the same is less painful in the short term than actually making a change. People inherently know that they have to make the change. And so self-sabotage is a very real thing, and it does apply to training.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm going for a PR and I don't actually believe I can do it, I'm now like 80 to 90% more likely not to do it.
Yeah.
Purely because I haven't been able to, again, access all of that knowledge, or let's say that hard wiring that I've worked so hard for, and then I can't actually perform the movement. And actually what Sam is really talking about, the technical terms, are inter and intramuscular coordination, right?
Yeah.
So intermuscular is kind of like, different muscle groups, which I'm actually going to talk about as the third point. And then intramuscular is what we were referring to before about neural drive and your ability to recruit, different muscle fibers. So we talked about, obviously, the isometrics. We talked about tendons and end range. The other thing, and Sam alluded to it, is compound movements, right?
Massive.
But why is that important? Well, because a compound movement is much harder to articulate than in isolation, right? So for example, for you to do this right now with your bicep, like most people can do that.
You can't do it wrong.
You can't really do it wrong. It's literally like your bicep only has 2 actions anyway, right? So this is the primary one. The other one is obviously supination. So this is one movement, right? It's not very hard to do. Whereas if I asked you to do a pull-up with correct form, like 90% of people can't actually do a proper pull-up.
Or even just a squat.
Or even a bodyweight
with
squat.
Your back upright, not leaning forward without your knees caving in.
Exactly. Now, why is that important, right? Because you might be thinking, well, who gives a shit? Well, the thing is if you can articulate a movement properly with proper form, then, like Sam said, when you are in positions of climbing a mountain or walking down or maybe running a marathon, whatever life throws at you, picking up your kid off the floor, guess what? You're actually able to use the right muscles to protect your body. That is real longevity.
Yeah, because you get injured because you're doing improper movement. When you bend down or like you're twisting laterally and you're not fucking your lower back, it's not because you were too weak. It's because you weren't doing it the proper way. If you squatted down perfectly, you picked your kid up, and your kid didn't weigh 200 kilos and picked it up, you shouldn't be getting injured. You're going to get injured when you're not in a somewhat like lower flat back position. When you're arched over and you're doing something weird and maybe you're pulling up with like your spine, that's when you're going to get injured. So it's the importance of building an athletic and capable body. And that comes first and foremost, like the base of all exercise, fuck any other sport, is calisthenics. And by calisthenics, I mean body weight based exercises. If you can't move your body in a proper manner, a normal squat, a normal hip hinge, a push, a press, a pull, a row, this is literally the fundamentals, scapular movement. You have no business doing any other sport. It's why in military, right, especially if you go into like special forces or whatever, why do you think all entry tests, it's always running, and you know what, I'm even going to say running is basically like body weight based exercise, right? It's how many push-ups can you do? How many sit-ups? How many pull-ups? How many squats? How many carries can you do? And on the topic of carrying, grip strength. That's a huge one, which calisthenics people tend to have some of the biggest or the strongest grip strengths. And we know for a fact that one of the only things that we've been able to find in the science world that directly correlates with longevity, other than the obvious like high VO2 and just being strong and having good balance, is grip strength. The stronger your grip strength, the longer you will live. Now, we don't necessarily know whether that's kind of like causation or correlation. That doesn't necessarily matter right now. But developing a strong grip strength is going to help you so much. In calisthenics, obviously, when we tend to talk about calisthenics, a lot of it is kind of like upper body focused, so like pull-ups, push-ups, dips. You need to have a strong grip, especially in pull-ups. You should be able to hang from a bar for 60 seconds. Everyone watching this video, unless if you're above the age of 80, in which case if you are, then shout out to you for watching this video, you should be able to hold onto a bar without your feet touching the floor for a minimum of 60 seconds. And you can progress your way through it. And to be honest, if you just get good at pull-ups, you don't even need to train hanging from a bar. You'll just naturally
going to get it. Exactly.
So yeah, I think grip strength is another huge one to do, which it's almost, the beautiful thing about calisthenics is that when you embark on this journey, whether your goal is to get a front lever or muscle up, whether it's just to learn how to do some push-ups or just some pull-ups, there's so many other byproducts that you end up getting that are so conducive to just building a happy, healthy, long, energized life. Then it's almost like when you're doing calisthenics, your end goal isn't almost really training for longevity. It's just a byproduct. It just happens to be this kind of beautiful marriage between the two, whereby you learn to master your body. That's basically the secret to living a long life. Like, look at Chinese people in parks, right? They're in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, just hanging from bars, doing pull-ups. We've seen people do muscle-ups into their 80s. Find me a powerlifter who's still deadlifting like a crazy amount of weight beyond the age of 50 or 60. You can't, because their body's fucked. They've pushed it way beyond its limit, and the body's just not capable of doing those movements anymore.
And look, let's be real, right? Most like of the top level, guys like the Eddie Halls and the Thors, and to be honest, a lot of the powerlifters as well, are on shit. They're juiced to the gills, and it's because they have to be able to push their body past the limit to get that PR, right? But at the end of the day, PRs is not what dictates longevity.
Yeah.
And I guess a very easy question you can ask yourself, right, is what do you classify as a more healthy, long-lasting body? Someone who is kind of like going down the yoga route, right? Someone who is able to press into a handstand elegantly, to move their body freely, or Eddie Hall.
Yeah.
Like, Eddie Hall's cool, man. Listen, I love Eddie Hall, right? I'd love to meet him one day. I'm sure he's an absolutely lovely guy, right? Drives a tank around somewhere in England. I don't know where it is. He's an absolute beast. But I don't think, is the epitome of health. Whereas if I looked at someone who, someone who's doing yoga, right? Who could go from a crow pose into a handstand. For me, I look at that and I go, wow, they have total control over their body.
Yeah.
That looks like it's going to be long lasting.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the only question you have to ask yourself when it comes to this stuff. And calisthenics is essentially yoga with strength.
It's the same, like yoga, Pilates, calisthenics, like they're even climbing to some degree. It's all within that same world.
Yeah. So we've got 4.
Yeah.
What else is there?
I mean, for me personally with calisthenics, the reason why it's helped with longevity, it is just building that basis. What I was saying, whereby if there was like a pyramid of exercise, at the base, or if you want to build a strong foundation, it is master your body weight first. And what I've noticed in my own personal life is that after doing 3 or 4 years of calisthenics, and what that looks like for most people, most people think about the front levers, the human flags, the one-arm pull-ups. Really, if you had to boil it down, all you need to do is get really good at pull-ups, push-ups, dips, some overhead pressing. That doesn't even have to be handstand push-ups. Handstand's good for balance. That's another thing that a lot of other strength sports miss, is the balance element, and obviously some squatting movements. Once you master those like simple foundations, most other things you do genuinely become so much easier. Like I was able to get pretty good at running, and still I would consider myself, I reckon if I actually dedicated myself to it for like a month or two, I'd get a sub 20-minute 5K, like no problem. We've done ultra marathons. I've run pretty long distances with like 20, 30 kilos on my back. Whenever we go climbing, it's pretty easy for us. Like we pick things up as if we were like 17 or 18 or like 12 years old. And I grew up, didn't play any sports. I started this shit when I was 24, weighed like 55 kilos, which is probably around like 100, between 100 and what, like 110 pounds. I was not athletic, but because I built that base, I'm able to compete with guys that are literally 17, 18, 19, 21, and I'm smoking them.
You know what? The best example is when we went on the stag.
Yeah.
And we did the Zorb football.
Yeah. That was
like fun. There was only one other guy, and it's because he plays rugby, so it is literally right up his street, right?
Yeah.
But other than that, Sam was cleaning everyone out. He was literally like, and I don't know if you know what Zorb football is, but it's basically when you have this big bubble around you and you smash into other people whilst you're playing football, or soccer is if you're American. And Sam was just cleaning everyone out.
Yeah.
Right? And it really does put it into perspective. We were talking about this later, right? Where we came away from that stag and from the wedding, and we were like, you know what's really crazy? Those guys are all the same age as us, but they all look like twice our age.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And it's because the only difference that Sam and I have got, right? Everyone's got, very good careers. Everyone's making loads of money, whatever. But the key difference between Sam and I and those guys is that we've been doing calisthenics.
Well, calisthenics not only helps you with longevity, it helps you stay young. Like I don't even think we look 30. In fact, whenever we meet up with people, they're like, you literally look exactly the same as you did at uni. Good physiques without tooting my own horn too much. And yeah, it helps you stay more energized. And of course, one other pillar which absolutely should be mentioned is like the need for cardio. Like cardio is super fucking important. The reason why I was probably able to smoke a lot of those people was because I've been running a lot more recently. I'm not saying you need to be able to do like a sub 3-hour marathon. Even if it's just like one run a week or one run every 2 weeks, if you really want the full package of living a long and healthy life, you need the good foundation, which is strength, which calisthenics encompasses all of it, right? Good joints, good ligament strength, good grip strength, good base, good mind-muscle connection, good at isometrics, good at balance, good for the mind, good for the soul. You're working towards something, you're constantly progressing. It's got the community aspects. So I think calisthenics encompasses everything within that realm of longevity. And then you've got the other side, which is kind of like your VO2 max, which gets taken care of with the cardio element. So I think literally if you just run a bit or do some form of cardio and you do calisthenics, you're literally ticking every single box you need for longevity, other than nutrition. But nutrition is a separate element.
Well, actually, this is the other thing I wanted to talk about.
Let's do it.
Right. Nutrition is obviously one of the biggest parts of longevity.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
What you eat is what you are.
Not
right?
even just what you eat, what you put into your body.
What you put into your body, all the environment around you, all of the toxic chemicals that we kind of unfortunately come into contact with on a daily basis, right? But the thing that you are able to control the most is what you put in your mouth, right?
Yeah.
So what you eat. The reason why I think calisthenics does so much better at controlling your nutrition than anything else is because the entire way of training is premised on your strength to weight ratio, right? What that basically means is in order to be good at calisthenics, you have to be lean, right? Find me, apart from maybe, I've only seen like one or two guys, and they're obviously freaks of nature. Find me anyone who is fat and overweight and is extremely good at calisthenics. You won't, right? Whereas if you find weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman, you can be a fat shit and be really good at it, right? You can. Whereas with calisthenics, you can't. So inherently, for you to actually pick up calisthenics and pick it as your primary way of training, it will enforce and change your perspective on nutrition. You'll start to actually eat better food. You'll eat less food. You'll start to be leaner. You'll start to build lean muscle, right? That is incredible for longevity.
And before any of you haters are like, oh yeah, but calisthenics is only done by like skinny little twigs that are like 16 years old. It's like, okay, yeah, I was naturally skinny, but you weren't skinny when you started this journey. Yeah.
I was overweight.
And he's stronger than me now, so like shove your excuses where the shun does not sign, my son.
There's a lot of S's.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that is really like the crux of it, right? I've never done anything which has made me more like focused on my nutrition like calisthenics. Because even running, right? With running, you kind of have this subconscious like mindset where it's like, oh, well, if I'm going to run, 15, 20K or whatever, I need to carb up, right?
Mate, like you eat so much shit around that stuff because it just eating healthy foods that are high carb, it just doesn't quite hit the same when you're doing like an ultra or something. You want just that dirtiness in your mouth.
Yeah. Whereas with calisthenics, you can hit a good session and then you're like, okay, cool, I need to be lean. I need to stay lean, right? Because if I don't stay lean, then my front lever is going to get harder. My planche is going to get harder, right?
Well, let's touch upon, and this is, you mentioned upon the compound movement element. Doing calisthenics helps you get leaner because everything is a compound movement.
Yeah.
So for the audience watching, why are compound movements more beneficial and how do they help you get leaner faster?
So 2 things. Number 1, they burn more calories, right? So you're using...
Why?
Well, because you're using more muscles, right? So for example, inherently a pull-up is harder than a bicep curl, and therefore it being harder means it's got a greater calorie expenditure.
What about compared to a lat pull down?
Still harder because it's complete, like for the lat pull down, your lower body is fixed, right? So your core doesn't have to come into it. Whereas with the pull up, you have to keep your body still. It has to be straight. Otherwise you can swing around all over the place and make it a pretty shit movement like CrossFitters do, right?
Yeah.
So for a strict pull up, you have to engage the entire body, and therefore it burns more calories than a lat pull down.
Yeah.
The second part of it is that compound movements build more muscle, right? Because you can load them more. So for example, if I wanted to load the biceps and I wanted to build bigger biceps, doing a bicep curl is great, but the thing is there's only so much load I can put through the bicep by isolating it. Whereas if I did a chin up, I'm now able to load the biceps with my entire body weight. Obviously, they're being supported by the upper back, the lats, whatever, but you can get more load through the biceps, right? Yeah. And therefore, you create a greater stimulus for hypertrophy, bigger muscles. The bigger muscles you have, the more calories you burn at rest.
Why?
Muscles actually burn calories at rest, right? In order for you to sustain that muscle, again, muscle weighs more than fat, right? So if you took the same size of muscle and fat, obviously the muscle is denser, so therefore it burns more calories, right? So your body, to sustain that muscle tissue, has to burn more calories, whereas for your body to sustain fat, it doesn't have to do anything because fat is just a store of energy.
So it's why you will always see calisthenics people at a high level always look lean. And look at gymnasts as well, bro. You know what? I genuinely think calisthenics people have the best physique on the planet. Now I know a lot of the people, the whole kind of myth on Cali people, by Cali we mean calisthenics, don't do legs. That's the extreme case where you see people that are competing at a very high level. And the reason why they don't do legs is because genuinely at their level, doing legs is actually counterproductive. We are not advocating that by any means. In fact, I don't think we've ever trained a single client where we told them do not do legs.
We never have.
Every single one of them. We make them do more legs than we do. In fact, because we know the importance of it. It's like you need to be doing legs. Doing legs will help you build that mind-muscle connection, which will help you do when you're doing your front levers, having strong glutes. And just in general, we're not in the business of kind of telling people, oh yeah, build an out of proportion body, right? It's like we're in the business of building bodies that are going to last a lifetime and stand the test of time. And for that, you 100% need to be training legs. So anyone watching this is like, Cali people don't train legs. Like, yeah, some of them. But the fact is that you'll probably never be that person because you're not 5'2" and you're not 17 years old and you're not competing at an international level. And that's not your goal. Your goal is to build a healthy life. So do legs.
And also it's a perception thing as well. At the end of the day, where do we get most of our information from?
Yeah.
Social media, right? So you're not going to see guys doing pull-ups, push-ups, dips, bodyweight squats, lunges, whatever, go crazy viral on social media. You're just not, because it's not cool to watch, right? Whereas you're going to see the top-level calisthenics athletes, the ones who are doing Maltesers and, straight arm touch front levers and all that stuff. Those guys are going viral because they're doing insane things. but they are literally, they're not even 1%.
So the 1% of the 1%.
It's the 1% of the 1%. 99% of people who do calisthenics or practice calisthenics are very much in the beginner to intermediate, right?
Yeah.
Very, very few people can, and again, we're in this bubble, right? Where we think, oh, like, you know, nowadays a full planche is not that rare. It's still really rare. Go to any gym, you won't find someone who can do a full planche.
Those guys that are at that high level, they're almost doing the same that the strongmen do, in the sense that they've taken it to the extreme, whereby they are getting constantly injured. They're putting their tendons under immense strength. So if you want to build the most optimal body, you shouldn't even necessarily, you could potentially even make the case that learning a planche is not even productive for longevity, because the chance of you getting injured is quite high. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't at least get to a point where you're doing a tug planche or doing some straight arm elements. Now, of course, if your goal is you really, really want to get a planche, there's a safe way and there's a systemic way to do it, whereby you can definitely reduce the risk of injury. But really, calisthenics, it's just get good at pull-ups, get good at dips, get good at squatting, get good at mobility, get good at hanging from a bar. Like, that's it. If you can do 3 times 10 pull-ups, 3 times 20 push-ups, 3 times 15 dips, a few pistol squats, maybe some sissy squats, you can run a 5K in under, let's say, 25 minutes. You are already in the top 1% in the world. And just if you can sustain that level of strength for as long as possible, you are so fucking healthy. So many people cannot tick all those boxes.
Yeah.
Like, most of the people that come to us just want to learn their first pull-up. And just them getting to that point of learning that first pull-up, you've unlocked a whole new world of capabilities that you didn't even know that you had.
No, it's like everyone chases the 225 bench.
Yeah.
But that means nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because the thing is if you can do 15 to 20 dips, good strict dips, you can do a 225 bench.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't touched a bench press literally since I was about 16. And I can still bench way over 225.
Yeah, and then once you start adding like weights to your calisthenics, that's when it's different gravy. When you're doing like really heavy pull-ups, really heavy dips, that's when it's like, okay, now you're building an insane foundation.
Yeah.
Like, you're pouring steel into that concrete.
Yeah, exactly. But you don't need to do that for longevity. The point is that, like Sam says, you literally need like 4 or 5 exercises to do well. You can even do it as a circuit 3 times per week.
Yeah.
Get a great pump, get the blood flowing, work your cardiovascular system as well, especially if you do it in those higher rep ranges.
100%.
And you will last for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably all of the points I can think of. There's probably more.
I mean, we could talk about this for hours more. But...
So, I mean, I guess if you had to kind of give the guys one takeaway, right? One thing to walk away with from why they should choose calisthenics as their staple main focus for training, what do you think that would be?
Because it ticks all the boxes that are required for longevity. Like, it is that simple. Like, calisthenics, again, you can rewind the video to about 10 minutes ago. I list off all the benefits, but just for the sake of doing it again, healthy joints, stability, isometrics, great core strength, which you haven't even talked about. Everyone wants good core strength. You want abs all year round? Just do calisthenics. We don't even train core, but we have abs because you need strong core to get good at calisthenics. Good tendon strength, good mind muscle awareness, great for balance, great grip strength, good looking physique. And having a good looking physique, right, you need to build that positive feedback loop. The better you look, the more you're going to want to work out. If you don't like the way you look in the mirror and it's going to take you a while to get the results, the chances are you're going to be less likely to do it. Ease of access, which we haven't even spoken about. You can do it fucking anywhere. Well, I just hit that. I could literally. Why do you think people in prison get so jacked? You don't even need to go to a gym. Like, there's no other form of exercise that you can tell me is better than calisthenics. You can do it anywhere. Like, what more?
He's getting angry now.
What more do you want? You can do it anywhere. You don't even need anything. Like, when do you think was the first ever bench press performed within the human race? Like 200 years ago? When was the first push-up ever done? Probably 100 million years ago, when Ooga Booga was just on the floor and the caveman everyone was just banging out those push-ups. And then not even the dinosaurs, the woolly mammoths were like, I'm not fucking with this dude. He's doing a head of handstand push-ups. But yeah, it ticks all the boxes. It's the ease of access. You can literally do it anytime, anywhere. It's fun, which is a massive thing as well. It's addictive. There's a growing community of people doing it. You look amazing. You feel amazing. It builds a bit of an ego as well. Like everyone looks at you doing all these cool things, and it's nice, especially if you were someone that didn't grow up doing all those cool things, or maybe you weren't. You were a bit self-conscious of the way you looked. Like it's a really good way of kind of getting your own back and showing the world that actually you're capable of doing some pretty cool things. It builds discipline. It's future-proof, and it's been proved. Literally, go find me a powerlifter that's 80, 90 years old who's still powerlifting. Go find me an 80, 90-year-old that's still doing calisthenics. I can probably go to the local park and I'll find someone above the age.
We've known people who literally cure their sciatica from doing calisthenics.
Yeah, just hanging from a bar. Like, it's literally that simple. So, I mean, I could go on, but...
I think you're right, though. The beautiful way of kind of summing this up is calisthenics ticks all the boxes for longevity.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it.
Like, literally every single one. Like, find me a new box, it's already been ticked by calisthenics. How about you? I guess it's the same?
Yeah, honestly, I can't really think of a better way to describe it. You've kind of taken the words straight out of my mouth. It literally is like there's in every facet, and we talked about it, right? It's not just limited to the physical ability of your body. It's also, it bleeds into the nutrition side of things, your mindset, all of those things revolve so nicely around calisthenics. Whereas you can get away with a lot of those things in other sports. I mean, I know so many powerlifters who are so weird. Right? Like, it's so weird. Like, why are they so socially awkward?
Yeah.
Find a calisthenics person who's socially awkward. I actually don't think I know any.
Yeah.
They're all quite confident. They're happy to talk to you, And again, it's because the entirety of calisthenics is a way of life, right? Yeah. All of those things that revolve around it, your recovery, your mindset, your nutrition, they have to be dialed in for you to be good at calisthenics. Whereas with powerlifting and strongman, I used to work at a gym, right? And powerlifters would come up and buy packs of sour patches, whatever they're called, right? The Haribos. Is that good for longevity?
No.
Yeah, sticking gelatin into my what? Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Whereas you don't do that shit in calisthenics.
There's a lot more variety with calisthenics as well, which is important for staying consistent. It's a lot easier to stay consistent at calisthenics than it is at other sports because there's variety. You're going to get bored of doing squat, bench, deadlift.
Oh, let me come
I'm just doing 3 exercises for the rest of my life. Right. How likely am I to stick to that? Not really.
And what's even better is, as a calisthenics athlete, I went and did a powerlifting competition and I deadlifted 500 pounds after like 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm better than you at your own bloody sport. I don't even train it. No, but for real, like jokes aside.
We're calisthenics, what do you call them? Maximalists.
We're glazers, mate.
We're calisthenics
glazers.
CG. That's the new gang. CG.
But honestly though, that bit really I found so funny.
Yeah.
So like Sam and I, we go to a pretty it's a top tier gym.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
there's some beasts there. Like,
there's some serious beasts in there.
Putting some mad numbers.
There's a lot of powerlifters in that gym, and I looked at the weights they're lifting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. You telling me that's all you do, and you're still worse than me?
It's facts. Like,
what?
Calisthenics builds an insane it's kind of like that old man strength. Where you see that dude that's been like a plumber his whole life, and he comes and he's just repping out. And again, because they're building tendon strength, like rock climbers, right? You look at rock climbing, like dude's got barely any meat on his bone. He is so strong. It's because they got really strong tendons. You're building kind of like real, true strength, that kind of old man strength, where you look at someone, and that's the cool thing about calisthenics is that you can not necessarily be the biggest at calisthenics. But you're so fucking strong. Whereas with bodybuilding or like powerlifting or a lot of those other sports, if you are strong, it's probably because you look strong. So it's a cool kind of it's the classic, what do they call it? Not like pump covers. Sleeper build,
yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people want that, the sleeper build physique. And we actually didn't even touch upon this. With calisthenics, you're not going to get this like inflated physique. Unless if you wanted that. And of course, you can always supplement calisthenics with weights, which is actually what we do a lot of the time. We add weight to our calisthenics just to take it, basically putting calisthenics on steroids, not literally, to calm down. But yeah, you're going to build a very proportional, good-looking physique.
Look at fighters.
Yeah, fighters.
MMA, UFC fighters. Like, I'm sorry, but if you want to talk about true athleticism, then those are the guys, right? UFC, think about it. You're literally beating another man, right, within an inch of his life. They all do calisthenics.
Well, it's all bodyweight based exercises, right? I
you
guess
go.
they're pretty much the only people that could probably make us shut up. But that's probably because they would punch us and be like, "Their sport's better."
Yeah.
But still, CG Calisthenics Glazers. We're starting a worldwide movement.
Maybe we should rename the podcast to Calisthenics Glazers. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think without us rambling on too much and tooting our own horns, and now you probably watching this thinking that we're egotistical, but the whole point is.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say no. You do your bit, then I'll do my bit. You continue.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that pretty much wraps up where we're at. You know, why this is the best way to train for longevity.
So what I was gonna say is, how can people start calisthenics?
Easiest way to start calisthenics is to go and find a pathway that makes sense for you. Find something that meets you exactly where you're at. Luckily for you, we actually have a free course that is literally dedicated to show you exactly how to piece together a workout program for yourself. We even have 3 workouts in there. If you want it, all you got to do, go and join our school community below. It's completely free. 2,000 plus people in there,
already, yeah.
All learning. We run workshops on a weekly basis. We're always putting in new content. And if you don't already, follow us on Instagram as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Because
that's where we post most of our
Exactly. But honestly, that course that we made, we teach you exactly how to audit your schedule, how to find pockets of time, how to work around the things that are going on in your life, how to make things turn from immovables to constraints where you can now actually address them and find the time to do your training, your nutrition, all of that sort of stuff. And then we even go and give you 3 workouts to actually get started with.
Calisthenics workouts, follow along, which you can watch on YouTube.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah. So there's no excuse not to get started. And you join a community of other calisthenics players.
And if you need more support than that, then our diary is always open. Come and jump in, have a chat with us, and we can see how we can actually help you.
Awesome.